And welcome everybody to the Huddle, KGUT 9's weekly streaming sports talk show. I'm Jason Barr, joined by Pat Parris. Pat, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Jason.
We're going to start with our weekly Huddle poll question, as we always do. We're going to talk some Arizona basketball before we get to the Super Bowl. Pat, the question is this week, as Arizona has won 13 out of 14 games, gone from a 4-5 record to the 13th best team in the country, according to the AP rankings. Which student athlete has had the biggest impact during this Arizona midseason hot streak? You have to pick one. Do you want me to say who I'm picking first, or do you want to?
You go right ahead. You go right ahead.
It's Toby Awaka. He has been a dominant force inside every game. This guy's only averaging 8 points and 8 rebounds a game, but he's only playing 19 minutes a game. If he was playing 32 minutes a game, it'd be like 13 and 13 or something. Shooting percentage is terrific. Touch around the rim is terrific. Offensive rebounding, defensive rebounding, defense. He has been terrific, and he was the best player on the court when they beat Iowa State. And yes, Jaden Bradley came on strong late against Texas Tech on Saturday night, but pretty much he was the best player on the court for that game too. Who do you pick?
Yeah. My initial thought was the same thing. I thought, I'm going to vote for Tobe Awaka, and I started doing the numbers, and I crunched a lot. I crunched a lot of numbers here because I wanted to get this right. And while I think he has had a tremendous impact, and he is playing at a level that I didn't know a guy could play at, like in his limited minutes, it's because he's got less minutes than the other two that it's hard for me to say that he's been the most impactful during this run. He's been a huge part of it without question. And I don't think you can go wrong with either of these three players because they've been outstanding. But if you just look over the last 6 games, you have to include 2 that Tobe Awaka didn't play very well, and that was the start of this game. And then you look at what the other 2 have done, and while Jaden Bradley has been amazing too, 12.5 points a game in the last.
That's what I thought you were going to go with.
What's that?
I thought you were going to go with Bradley.
I was, and then I crunched the numbers even further, and I decided I'd go with Caleb Love, and that's because
Patty doesn't shoot well enough.
Because it doesn't matter what you're shooting; it's what your end stats are. You want him to shoot till he starts to get in that rhythm, and sometimes it takes him a little while. Sometimes he gets a little lull in the middle. Sometimes he doesn't hit him at all until it matters most when he chucks up a 54-foot shot. But in the last 6 games, he's averaging exactly 20 points a game. He's averaging 4 rebounds a game, 4.33 assists per game, and nearly 2 steals a game. And he's also been asked, and
he's ticked off 8,000 opposing fans per game too.
Exactly. So that's even better. But also, what's better is they're putting up against the top guards for him to guard, and he's in the game more than any of these guys are.
His defense has been very good.
Yeah, and I think that's
rebounds too.
Yeah, I want to give Tobe Awaka a lot of credit, and the Big 12 did. He's the newcomer of the week, coming off the previous week when Caleb Love was the Big 12 player of the week. So the conference notices how well Tobe Awaka is playing. We all notice it as well. I wish you could just say they're all playing well. We don't even have Henry Vasar in here, and there have been times where Henry Vasar has been the best player in the court. We'd like to see it more than just little stretches, but he's been terrific. I think that Tobe Awaka and Henry Vasar separately has been great, and now together, you and I were texting during the game against.
I want to see them together.
Texas Tech. That when and I don't think you can play the whole game that way because
but parts,
but parts, and I think that's what Tommy Lloyd. You were at the news conference afterwards Saturday night.
That was the first question he was asked.
I think that he thinks that's something that they're going to continue with.
They're both too good to only be averaging 20 minutes each per game.
Yeah, exactly.
They've earned more minutes than that. Yeah, we couldn't include everybody. Our producer Ryan thought maybe include Henry Vasar. Ivan was thinking. E-Man after his 8 seconds in the game.
The big 8 seconds, Jason. Things were getting out of hand. He comes in, settles it down, and they ended up going back up 4 before half.
Yeah. The only reason to put E-Man in, and we were joking because it's a rodeo term. I mean, we're coming up here on Tucson Rodeo, and Emmanuel Stevenson, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, had 8 seconds in the first half. Yeah, I guess if you want to make sure Awaka doesn't commit a foul and you're resting Vasar. That's the only thing I could think of. But
yeah, that was it. That was it.
Yeah, so 2 of the hottest teams in the country play tonight, 6:00 our time with Arizona and Kansas State. And there's some analytics that say Kansas State's been the best team in the country over the last 5 games. That's a little bit hard to believe.
It's hard to believe. Yeah,
St. John's might have something to say about that. But Arizona with its 13-14 and Kansas State tonight. It's going to be a terrific matchup, and hopefully the Wildcats can keep it going, because the back half of this Big 12 schedule is much tougher than the first half. But so far they've come up with the wins.
Yeah, 11-1. They've atoned the only loss that they had, and that was to Texas Tech. It doesn't get any easier. Besides
I was surprised,
ASU,
Pat, 13th in the nation. They go up 7 spots in the polls.
Let's go to metrics as you look at this monster schedule they have coming up.
They have 6 losses.
It doesn't matter. It's who they lost to, and also look at the other.
They have them ranked ahead of Wisconsin, who they lost.
Look at the other top 25 teams, though, Jason. And I'll take me a minute to pull it up. But if you look at the other top 25 teams, they all have 4, 5, 6 losses.
But if you're a Wisconsin fan, Pat, you're thinking, why is Arizona ranked ahead of us after we scored 100 points?
But if you dig into the numbers, so if you look at the numbers, and you can say what you want about the net ranking, which is the NCAA's complicated computer ranking that really rewards you for beating other tier 1 teams, other, say, top 20, top 25 teams. And it doesn't hurt you when you lose to them, as long as you're competitive with them. So their net ranking right now is number 7. Houston's net ranking is number 3. I think Iowa State might be 8 or 9, right behind Arizona. So if Arizona is the 7th in the net ranking, Ken Palm, which a lot of analysts believe Ken Palm is even a better gauge with its metrics. Ken Palm has Arizona at 10th. They have Houston also at 3rd, and they have Kansas State, by the way, at 57 on the Ken Palm ranking.
Now a bubble team, almost a bubble team now.
Almost a bubble team right now.
12 and 11, not quite a bubble team, but if they win tonight, they'd be a bubble team.
Yeah, they certainly would. BYU is a team that likely can get in. They're talking about 8 Big 12 teams right now. The third most of the conferences, and Joe Lunardi has Arizona finally up kind of where this ranking and where the net ranking matches where they should be, at about number 3 seed. And I'm not saying that's where they'll end up. They could stumble here a few times, and all of a sudden they're now back to a 6, 7 seed or something. But if they continue to play well and they figure out a way to continue to get better, and hopefully they don't have Trey Townsend out for too much of an extended period of time, then maybe they will end up as a 3 seed and stay out west.
He's questionable tonight, at least according to Tommy Lloyd back from Saturday. I'm sure they know by now whether or not he's playing. This doesn't make Trey Townsend look very good, but the Texas Tech coach said, I don't think they've lost anything despite the injury. I don't think he meant that as a knock on Trey Townsend. I think he meant that complimentary of the guys who went in, and maybe you don't want Jaden Bradley to play 39 minutes and Caleb Love to play 39 minutes every single game. And that would certainly catch up to them, in a Big 12 tournament. So
right.
We'll see. Go ahead.
And Carter Bryant, we have seen such great.
Whenever he starts, he doesn't play that many minutes, Pat.
Yeah, because we see him make some progress, and then we see him take another step back. He'll commit a turnover. He'll have a couple of really bad, ticky tack reach in fouls. There's you can't do that. So while we're seeing him progress, like you'd like to see him progress. I think
he missed a defensive switch too.
Yeah, he's a little late on some of those. He didn't get back one time, and there have been some instances, and I think until he gets all that right, he's not going to get more playing time than he gets. And as long as Trey Townsend's around, that's okay, But when you start going 7 deep instead of 8 deep, it might catch up with you, Jason.
Well, you remember he played 7 guys 2 years ago.
Yeah. The
year that Adama Ball, he didn't play Adama Ball, then he went and transferred to Santa Clara. And it's kind of a similar situation here with Connor Martinez. I mean, gosh, if I'm Connor Martinez and the 8th guy, one of the 8 guys is out, and I'm the next guy.
But it's not the same position, Jason.
No, but he could have moved Bradley to one of the wings and given Connor Martinez a few minutes there. That makes me feel like he doesn't have enough confidence in Martinez.
I don't think he does. But it really
2 years ago that this Arizona fan base would fall in love with Connor Martinez, and he's not playing him. He should have put him in for a few minutes in this game.
Well, the issue becomes: do you, when you have one guy out, do you then do you just try to plug in Carter Bryant a little bit more and hope that works out, and not have to switch a lot of guys around? Because then all of a sudden it really takes you out of your routine and out of your rhythm. And I think they're trying to, the path of least resistance. So the easiest thing to do is not to just start putting a ninth guy in the rotation just because your one of your 8 guys is now out. That's the way I see it. I'm not opposed to Connor Martinez at all. We've seen him at times look really good.
He's got to do something when he gets in the game, though.
Yeah, and he's a spark. He's a little energy, a little shot of energy too.
Yeah, he's got to produce. All right, Jason Barr, Pat Parris here on the Huddle, talking Arizona basketball as the Wildcats have won 13 of 14 games. I said to Tommy Lloyd in the post-game news conference, Pat, I said, you were 4-5, and now you've won 13 out of 14. What's been the biggest difference with this turnaround? And he didn't really give any specifics, Pat. He just kind of said, doubled down on what we do. We were going to get it right and all that stuff. But, I did say back when the team was 4-5, geez, I don't see a giant difference in talent on the roster compared to the last few years when they were a 1 and 2 seed. And we speculated, well, maybe the loss of this guy or maybe that. But I never really thought there was that big of a talent difference between his previous year's teams and this year's team.
Yeah, I think what happened in my estimation, what happened was, you've been so reliant on this transfer portal and your 5-star guys coming. Tommy Lloyd's got his share of top recruits coming in, and that happened again this year. You have Carter Bryant. You'll have it next year. But you've been more reliant on bringing in those 5th-year guys, or in some cases with COVID, it's been the 6th-year guy. And you just don't know how it's going to mesh right away. And to me, it just didn't seem like it meshed right away. And it wasn't anybody's fault. It just too many new guys and all trying to come together at once. And it wasn't as if you had all of these really weak teams to build up with maybe a Duke in there somewhere. No, it was a murderer's row of great basketball teams to start the season. Not that we don't mind the challenge, but maybe it was a little too much too soon for a team that was still trying to get its identity.
All right, so Arizona plays at Kansas State tonight. We'll come back and finish up with a Huddle poll question. But first, we'll spend a couple of minutes here, on a disappointing Super Bowl. And, looking back on it, I guess I should have realized the Eagles' defense was going to be that good. Here, a 40-22 game doesn't even show what happened.
Not as close as the score indicates.
That's exactly it. And then, the Eagles' defense, I know Hurts got the MVP, but they could have given it to one of those defenders. I'm surprised I had this thought during the game, and I'm surprised I haven't heard anybody else say it either. And I'm not trying to be a conspiracy with the refs and all that type of nonsense. It just felt to be like the wrong team was in the Super Bowl. And I guess maybe people aren't seeing it that way because, what do you mean the wrong team? The Chiefs were the last 2 Super Bowls. Every year is a different year. This team was not that dominant. They got lucky. Okay, with some things that happened during the year. Definitely some calls went their way. I think Baltimore would have given the Eagles a much better game than Kansas City did.
Yeah, probably. And our producer Ryan saying, the AFC wasn't very good this year. And there was probably some truth. There are several teams in the NFC that you thought might be a little stronger. But I'm with you. I thought the Ravens were definitely a better team, but they seem to have a real block mentally or something about getting past, even getting to the AFC Championship game, let alone getting to the Super Bowl. And then the Bills, there's another team that just seems like they can't get over the hump, whether it's that, the bad spot on the 4th down play, or as you said, the guy, make a spectacular catch and you keep that going, whether it's the refs or not, I don't know. But to me, the Bills would have given them a better chance. The AFC a better chance. The Ravens would have given them a better chance. But the bottom line is, you and I both said last week at this time, we thought the Eagles were clearly the better team. But we weren't 100% sure that was going to translate into a win, because that's been the Chiefs' MO all season, and perhaps even during this run, that there have been other teams that were better, but they just figure out ways to get it done with coaching and with the personnel, and they've gotten it done. Well, they didn't get it done even close this time. It was just a pure domination by the Eagles, and the better team was, or the best team in the NFL was the Eagles this year, and they got the job done, and they won easily. It was impressive. There's a snapshot right there of exactly how that game went. That front of the Eagles pressured him from the get-go. From the second pass of the game, he was out of sorts, and it was all because of their pressure. And the Eagles had pretty much everything covered downfield too, and it was a terrific performance.
Yeah, and the Chiefs are going to revamp that offensive line in the offseason. They'll get better in that regard. Andy Reid said before the game he is going to come back next year. I think Travis Kelce is too. I believe he's got a contract for next year that he probably doesn't want to give that up. But when you look at the stats, his stats are down. I mean, the last 2 years, not just the yards, but the yards per catch, down as well. And you wonder how much he has left in the tank. A 35-year-old tight end who's played for 11 years. So Mahomes still 29. Definitely, he's got plenty to go. Doesn't mean he's going to get back there anytime soon. But you wonder how many pieces the Chiefs will have next year.
Yeah, and that's the juggling act you always have. You could make the argument that receiving wise, the Chiefs were better this year than they've been the last couple of years, but it didn't translate that way. And I think you're right. Travis Kelce looks like he's a step slower. And now you and I were having a conversation yesterday about it. Of course, Travis Kelce is a smart football player, and he still knows how to get open, but that doesn't mean that he can do much after he gets open. And in the case of the Eagles, and our producer Ryan points out, they didn't blitz once. They sent 4 guys every time, and it was more than enough pressure. Mahomes couldn't even find him, so it was no time to find him.
Yeah,
it was impressive. It was really.
I mean, if he can make more money away from football, sure, he'll do that. So,
and he could. He could. Look, I mean, Gronk still makes great money, not only working for Fox, but Gronk's on a lot of TV commercials and does so many appearances with his supermodel girlfriend and everything. I mean, it'll be even more for Travis Kelce with his girlfriend than it is for Gronk's girlfriend. So you never know.
It'll be interesting to see if Gronk is full-time on that Fox pregame show next year. I don't know if you saw it, but the tribute to Jimmy Johnson.
I did. I watched that because you asked me to, and it was interesting.
I enjoyed it. What did you think?
I enjoyed it because it was a great perspective. If people haven't seen it, they used AI to go back to his college days,
Arkansas,
and through his coaching. In fact,
Oklahoma
even at Louisiana Tech, getting a guy named Terry Bradshaw to come to Louisiana Tech and be the quarterback there. It was really well thought out. It was fairly well pulled off for where the technology of AI is now. I can see why some people were a little squirmish about recreating, but as long as you present it that way, I have no problem with that. There's a cutoff to me about ethics and morality and things when it comes to, like, I would hope we don't start doing that with news, like reenacting crimes so we can show people how things. I don't want that. I don't want that to happen with AI. But when you have the ability to have a Jimmy Johnson fully participate in this and have him go from the early days of his playing career at Alabama all the way up through winning Super Bowls with the Cowboys and everything, that's great.
I enjoyed it. I thought, as somebody who likes storytelling and long form storytelling, I thought that was a different way of telling the story. And I wasn't looking for it to be him in 1960 something. I was looking for, I actually want that little difference between reality and AI, or if you will, so that you know what it is. But I didn't feel anything squirmish or uneasy. I really enjoyed it. So much so I watched it a few times. Yeah.
It was good. I thought it was well done.
And what Fox is saying as well, he's likely to retire before the next time we have a Super Bowl, which is in 4 years, I think.
I figured that's probably why they did it, is they don't see him long term, more than a couple more years.
Well, he's 81 years old, I think.
Yeah. That's what you have to be careful. Hey, real quick, I want to, before we leave the Super Bowl talk, we always got to bring it back locally, don't we?
Sure.
Or at least we can try. I saw this yesterday. I thought it was kind of one of those things that you could knock somebody over with this stat. So it's points scored in the Super Bowl by that player's college team. Okay, so the most points scored in the Super Bowl that it was, the guys, all these guys combined went to the same school. It was Miami. Miami has 84 points total scored in the Super Bowl. No, that's
All
not
Super
quarterbacks
Bowls?
throwing. That's not quarterbacks throwing. That's guys receiving or rushing the ball. Okay. Florida is at 82. Penn State has 81 points scored. Georgia 67. That's the top 5. Cal has 66. Notre Dame 64. I'll get down to number 10 is Nebraska at 54. Mississippi Valley State. You've got Illinois and Michigan State. You've got Oklahoma and Georgia Tech. All the teams you'd expect, right?
Oh, Mississippi Valley State. Come on. That's Jerry Rice.
It's Jerry Rice, right? No, you would expect that if you think about it. Jerry
Right.
Rice scored a lot of touchdowns, so that's why he's in there. But the team that really stuck out to me, tied at number 16 with USC and Ohio State, pretty good company, right? At 42 points scored as guys playing in the Super Bowl representing their colleges. Arizona Wildcats at number 16, tied for number
That's
16.
2 guys, though. That's Gronkowski and probably a
Doesn't
kicker.
matter. It doesn't matter. They're ahead of Michigan with 40 points. They're ahead of UCLA with 39
Is it a
points.
kicker?
What's that?
Is it a kicker? Did the Patriots have an Arizona kicker in any of the Super Bowls?
They might have.
Well, it's got to be one other player besides Gronkowski.
Well, it's Nick Foles.
Oh, he caught a touchdown pass.
Yeah, he caught a touchdown pass.
Yeah, I'm trying to think here. I don't know. I don't think Nick Folk was on the kicker. Not Nick.
That's
Foles,
what I was looking for to see if he was
on
perhaps.
So it's Gronkowski, and then maybe it's no, he wasn't in any Super Bowls. Would have to look up at who it is. Listen, Pat, it's a fun stat. I don't want to take it away from you. I don't think it really shows that, Arizona's a collegiate powerhouse. It just has to have,
No, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that. It's one of those kind of, just off the wall stats that you would never have thought of. I looked down that list and I'm telling you, Jason, in that top 30 list, no school on there is a surprise. Even Mississippi Valley State, if you know the history of Jerry Rice, that's not a surprise. Right. But Arizona is a pretty big surprise to me. That was.
No, you can have your fun with that. It has to do with what position that the guy played at, and who he was with. I don't think it shows that Arizona's a football powerhouse.
No, not at all. That's my point. You're
right.
You're actually making my point.
Okay, I got you now.
Yeah, I was shocked. Sure. I was shocked.
Yep.
That maybe really 2 guys.
For how many points they scored in the NCAA tournament or something like, not the NCAA tournament, like the finals or something like that. Anyway, fun stat, Pat. I'm glad you shared it. Let's finish it up here with our Huddle poll question for Arizona basketball. And that would be, which player do you think has had the biggest impact in this midseason winning streak where the Wildcats have won 13-14? Okay, our producer Ryan McClure is saying Vance Johnson.
Yeah, he had a touchdown. He had a touchdown in 1980 in Super Bowl 21 for the Broncos.
No, not 1980. Vance Johnson played much later than that.
1989. Wait, what was Super Bowl 21?
21 was the Giants over the Broncos in the 86 season.
86 then.
Yeah, so it would have been January of 87.
86, yeah, because I ran track with him at Arizona in 1983. So 86.
Okay, so we got 6 points there from.
So there's six more points right there.
That's right.
Vance Johnson.
That's right. Hey, maybe some guy named McMillan will score a few points.
There's no question Tedero McMillan can score in the Super Bowl if he ever gets there.
That's right. All right. Do we have that Huddle poll question here of which Arizona players had the biggest impact the last 13 or 14 in the last 14 games? Okay, now this one looks like it's from our website, or is this from X? Because we got some even numbers there. We get usually a little bit more. This is from X. Okay, so we got some even numbers. Awaka at 50%. I would not have thought that, but that's who I went with, and it's good to see other people recognize what an impact he's had, Pat.
Yeah, I agree. I told you I debated, and I can easily see Tobe Awaka. I'd like to see what it is on our Kega 9 website too. Maybe average.
That third foul on him was the worst call. Oh my gosh, did they blow that one? I know the refs are going to get a few wrong.
They got a lot wrong.
I'm talking about, but they showed it on the jumbotron. And it was the basket, I think, towards your seats or closer to, but it was closer to the other side. So you could probably, I think his back was to you for that play. Oh, goodness gracious, did they miss that call? They called a foul on him, but it was not a foul.
I thought, I always thought as a, obviously, who I root for. I root for the University of Arizona, but I try to try to be fair. I guess the journalist in me tries to look at what the other coaches are doing. Are they upset about certain calls as well? And not just the ticky tack and
There
like,
are makeup calls.
Are they
There are
missing calls? And I always thought the Pac-12 refs were starting to really get out of like, maybe it was just the game was going too fast for them, because the last 2 years I always thought things were not going well for those Pac-12 referees. Some of them have moved to the Big 12, so we've seen some of them. But the Big 12 refs are no better. And I just think the speed of the game, Jason, is just too much for these. We back in the day, there were only 2 refs. Now there are 3, and they're still missing calls. And that's how things get out of hand. That's how things get escalated emotionally, not only with the fans, with the players. And I don't know what the answer is, but
that one and the one that the Texas Tech coach got teed up on.
Yeah. You're right.
It's Texas Tech, the guy misses the call, and the coach complains, and he mentioned it, and they get the T on him.
Yeah,
and it's like, gosh, ref, you missed the call. Don't reinforce it. I thought they got a bad deal on that.
I do too. I think that was my point, is that you have to also look at when you're mad that they're missing the call, but all of a sudden you see the other coach running down the court yelling at the official, and he gets teed up. Nobody's happy with the officiating, and Tommy is always going to take the high road, and it's not an easy thing for these referees. I get it, but sometimes it's just so obvious, and they miss it. They blow a lot of calls. All
right, let's hope they've got a good game tonight here, and so does Arizona as the Wildcats play at Kansas State tonight.
So it's a tough one. It's a tough one, Jason. You don't want to be, looking in the rearview mirror how great you are after beating Texas Tech, and looking ahead to how big a challenge you have on Saturday afternoon at
Houston's got a road winning streak, if I'm not mistaken.
It could be. I mean, until they just lost. They had a winning streak period. So they lost to Texas Tech. So yeah.
I believe
it's going to be a tough week.
I believe that was a home game. I have to double check. All right.
Yeah.
This is the Huddle.
The Texas Tech game was at Houston.
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
They've got a big road winning streak.
So they have a road winning streak. Yep.
Okay. All right. For Pat Parris, I'm Jason Barr. This is the Huddle, KGUT9's weekly streaming sports talk show. We'll see you right back here talking more Arizona basketball and whatever else is happening next Tuesday. Thanks, everybody. See you then.